Thank you for joining us on TNT. It's the last day of the week, Friday in Thailand, and today is a public holiday. It's actually the birthday of the Queen Mother, the mother of the current King of Thailand, Queen Sirikit, and she is 90 years old today. And so Thailand is having a public holiday to commemorate it. She was married to King Bhumibol Adulyadej in 1950 and born in 1932, and she is much loved by the Thai people. So many happy returns, Your Majesty. Okay, let's move on to the program. And a question from people yesterday. We were talking about Tham Luang Caves and the fact that they've building a new exhibition centre up there, and I think that'll be quite controversial, by the way. But some people were asking, well, what actually happened to the kids? Well, the kids are alive and well and doing fine, thank you very much. Here we got them. But some people were asking about what actually happened to them. Some of them were what you call a stateless. They were from over the border in Myanmar, and they had grown up or basically been born here in Thailand, but they weren't Thai citizens. So there were four of them, three of the young boys and also the 25-year-old coach Ekapon, sorry. And so the four of them were granted statehood and were made Thai citizens. So good news there, as there were many happy faces when they were presented with their Thai citizenship some 2 or 3 months after being rescued from the caves. Now, they have not been included in the current documentaries, but a documentary has just been released in Thailand in the Thai language called Thai Cave Rescue on Netflix. And it does have interviews with the actual survivors, the young boys who were rescued. And I think that will be interesting to watch. I'm hoping there might be English subtitles, because I think we're going to learn probably a lot more about what was going through their minds during their time inside the cave. So that will be worth looking for. This is TNT, and I thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you so much for your great support. Most surprisingly, I thought it would take until, I was predicting October or November to reach what we call a monetization level on the program. But actually, because of you, we've been able to reach that in, under a week. And as of today, we will be monetizable. I've got to get an official email, I think, from YouTube. I think I have to donate my firstborn male child and make a sacrificial offering, but I'm not sure exactly what's going to happen there. But hopefully next week, thinking next weekend, I'll be able to do a live program with you. So that's going to be a fantastic opportunity for us to get together and have a bit of a cup of coffee and a chat. Oh, I needed that. To our next topic, and we're talking aviation. Of course, the aviation industry under a lot of pressure at the moment. A lot of people are wanting to fly, but not in the numbers they used to. They're wanting to fly to different parts of the world. The airlines are trying to adjust their schedules accordingly. A lot of planes still sitting on the ground. I noticed, because I come through Suvarnabhumi usually 1 or 2 times a week, and I noticed that a lot of the Thai aircraft, the Thai Airways, are still sitting on the ground. Now, we're talking specifically here about Emirates, and it was a story from CNN quoting the CEO, whose name is Tim Clark, quite outspoken. And the article talks about the Emirates fleet of A380s. These are the big double-decker aeroplanes there, and they're the biggest passenger aircraft flying around the world at the moment. A lot of them were mothballed by many of the airlines at the start of COVID, but now they've decided, well, certainly in Emirates' case, to get them back up into the air. Some of these numbers are quite surprising from Emirates, and I was unaware that they were quite so big supporters of the A380. They've got 118 in their fleet, and about 80 of them are which are currently flying. And yes, they're talking about a big resurgence of the Super Jumbo being reintroduced into their services. Quote there, the notion that the A380 was a spent force was always a bit difficult for us to swallow, said Tim Clark. So the A380 coming back into force, certainly with Emirates. And Emirates have become such an important part of getting people from Europe into Asia as a key hub. And flights from Emirates coming into Thailand every day, numerous flights indeed. Going further into that article, now talk of a new replacement to the A380, the big super jumbo. A lot of airlines not really stomaching the idea of building another super jumbo, but Emirates are certainly trying to get them to have at least a think about it. At the moment, the biggest aircraft in manufacture is the 777-900, but it's still not flying. And you can see there it will seat 364 against 484 on the Airbuses with their new premium economy. So, the idea of these slightly smaller planes taking over from the super jumbo is a problem for big airlines like Emirates. They're also saying that they expect a rise in people flying again, but there is certainly a big demand for the airlines, not so much the airlines, but the manufacturers to come up with more efficient, economical aircraft. And that article there going on to talk about that, imagining a composite wing and a predominantly composite fuselage, talking about there the use of carbon fibre rather than using aluminium to build much of the plane, and open fan engines, which are going to be tested on some of the super jumbo test planes soon. These new engines, actually you can see the blades on the outside. They work like a jet engine, but the blades are huge, not the size of the old propellers, but you would actually see the propellers outside the front of the engine, all part of trying to push more air into these super engines, so development of that. And they're also talking about carbon neutral flying. I'm thinking that this is 20, 30 years hence when the technology catches up with the demand, but certainly a lot of pressure on airlines, not only to try to get their planes back up in the air, but also trying to make it more economical for you and also more environmentally appropriate for this time. On TNT and some of the main headlines today, heading to the Bangkok Post, one of the headlines there, most of the nation will get COVID by the year's end, mentioning there that the hospitalisation at the moment remains around 2,000 to 3,000 a day, with fatalities at the moment sort of moving between 20 to 30 a day. Now, it's important to understand that there are a lot of ATK tests, and that's referred to in the next part of this article, where they're saying that many of the current infections go unreported. The actual daily infections of the virus transmission could now be in the tens of thousands. And that's certainly the case, that now there's so many people getting COVID. These new variants are highly infectious, but they're less dangerous. So we're now moving into a position where the medical care and the understanding of COVID-19 has moved a long way forward in the 2.5 years since the first infections came to light in Wuhan, China. Remembering that it was Thailand where the first person-to-person infection was detected. I think that was on January the 18th, 2020, and that, kicked off what became the COVID-19 pandemic. And just moving a little bit further on in that article, talking about a large number of counterfeit Chinese-made antigen tests for COVID-19, valued at more than 2 million baht, was seized in a joint operation carried out by the Consumer Protection Police Division and the FDA. So certainly plenty of fakes floating around. I mean, after all, it is Thailand. We should also remember that if you go to Family Mart or to 7-Eleven, the kits they have there are proper test kits, so they are fairly reliable. Certainly that's what we've been using around the office over this year, and they were at least detecting cases when they emerged. All right, to our next story, and a story from Tiger says that Thailand workers could earn over 100,000 baht in Saudi Arabia. Workers can expect to earn monthly salaries of 100,000 baht when Saudi Arabia opens its doors to Thailand later this year, noting that there's been a big surge of Thais heading to places like South Korea and trying to get in as illegal arrivals to earn more money than they can probably earn here in Thailand at the moment. We also note that the hospitality industry in Thailand is really suffering at the moment because they're battling to get staff. I was talking to a manager of a number of hotels here in Phuket yesterday, and he was saying that they're just really struggling to get staff. Even the staff who were working in the industry before, they're just not coming back at the moment, and they're being lured by the possibility of getting 100,000 baht a month in places like Saudi Arabia, and the rumours that they can earn more in the black market up there in South Korea. So difficulties for the Thai economy as a lot of businesses trying to get rebooted and restarted, just struggling to get staff. All right, now the double CSA next week are going to be talking about a few things. One of them is about this article on Thai PBS World, referring to the opening of venues in popular tourist hotspots until around about 4 a.m. in the morning. This article refers to certain locations around the country, and we've got Khao San Road in Bangkok, Patong Beach in Phuket, Walking Street in Pattaya. Is that really the main focus of attention for the nightlife in Pattaya these days? I think that might have changed. Also got Ao Nang in Krabi, Khao Lak in Phang Na, Koh Samui, Hua Hin and Chiang Mai. So basically where the tourists go. So that's one thing that will be discussed in next Friday's double CSA meeting, the double CSA, the COVID task force here in Thailand. And the other thing they'll be discussing is whether to extend the visa exemption. When you arrive, you get the stamp in your passport from 30 days to 45, and the visa on arrival from 15 days up to 30 days. We've had just about almost unanimous support from people saying yes, they should go for at least 45-day tourist visas or tourist stamps, or even longer, 60 or 90 days, a lot of people proposing as well. Don't know if that's going to happen, but I think next week you'll see the official opening of venues until 4 a.m. I just noticed a little bit later on in that article we're coming up with a reason why they should permit venues to stay open till 4 a.m. in the morning. Get this one. He says that even if the pub is closed, many patrons want to hang around drinking, and some operators have been known to close their premises to avoid police detection, which may jeopardise the safety of patrons in a case of a fire. That's the best reason he can come up with to open up venues until 4 a.m. And then he goes on saying that, well, they're already operating beyond their permitted hours already. So what the hell? Well, at least he's acknowledging the truth, which is the fact that a lot of these venues, when they were meant to close at 9, they were closing at 10. When they had to close at 12, they were closing at 1 or 2. And now they're meant to close at 2. And of course, they're going till 4 or 5 in the morning. So at least he's acknowledging that fact. And thank you for joining us on TNT, our Tim Newton Today final program for the week, a public holiday. And I can tell you, as I look out the windows, it's a bright, sunny day. In fact, we haven't had one single drop of rain in Phuket this week, which makes up for most of July, which was very wet indeed, but been a perfect time here on the island. So those tourists that are here having a fine time indeed. To our final story today, and we've got the new Bangkok governor proposing a ideal city on Bangkok's outskirts. Now the areas he's talking about are Lat Krabang, Rom Klau and Bang Kun Tien. So where are those areas? Let's have a quick look. Here's a map of Bangkok. The red arrow is the Rom Klau area. The blue arrow is Lat Krabang. Now, Lat Krabang is actually the final airport link stop before you get to the Suvarnabhumi airport, which is basically where that blue kink is in the line. And then the other area they're talking about to the south east of southwest of the city, Bangkok. Now you can see the problem with that is it's much closer to that Chao Phraya Delta, and we know that Bangkok is slowly sinking at a rate of 2 to 3 centimetres a year. That's been measured over the past 30 years, and they're thinking that areas like that, precisely like that, that are in that the Chao Phraya Delta are probably, many of them, going to be threatened and underwater. So I'm probably thinking that that area of Romklao and Lat Krabang, if they're talking about relocating some of the Bangkok city, would be much better long-term areas if they're going to invest what's going to have to be a lot of money. What are you doing for the public holiday in Thailand? Well, if you're overseas, you're probably doing whatever you're doing there. But the people in Thailand are having a day off. The tourist areas will still be open. Banks will still be open in shopping centres, but public offices will be closed. So just plan your day accordingly. But from me, thank you for joining us for our first week on Tim Newton Today. Please subscribe to the channel, and we do look forward to seeing you again next week.